everyone. Welcome for this month's episode of My Little Town. As always, I'm Yuval here with Yo Miami. We're here recording episode 9. I started writing it down so I know what episode we're on. We're here in Alapata at Joel Radio Studios with our guest this month, Robert William de los Rios. Say it.
You said it. The last one was right.
De los Rios.
That's the one.
It's a lot of names.
What's up, man?
Founder of the Raw Project, among many other things that we'll get into today. Shout out to Wakefield, as always, for the beers that we're sipping on.
Co-founder. I know.
Co-founder. Okay. Yeah.
It gets lost because he.
I was gonna talk about.
He's doing other things, but Patrick Walsh, local. No, yeah,
it
was him, me, and then Principal William. You know, it was pretty much, that was the three that, you know, brought it. And I mean, I didn't name it. I think it was Dr. Williams that named it Raw. That wasn't even me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into the name and all that in a little bit also. But all right, so let's rewind. So I first met you actually through your buddy Chris.
Yeah.
When you guys were working on back in the day, when was it Winwood Map or Winwood Maps?
Winwood. We had both just for that.
That's smart.
Yeah, but it was Winwood Map.
Right. So this was, I'm going back easily like 2010 to 2012, like in that little window. I'd say like pre anyone knowing what Winwood was, like outside of the people who were like coming here. And I met Chris, I forget how, and Winwood Map working on this app, which was basically a way to I'll let you correct me and say it better in a second, but basically the idea was to document the murals that were going up all over Winwood and give some information about the artist and all that one, you know, so people would know directly in an app or from the website, like, oh, I want to go check out this mural here that this artist did. I think in terms of the technology that was available at the time and all that, I don't think we were at the point where it was like necessarily so interactive with the murals itself, where it's like, oh, it wasn't like you were scanning it and you know.
No, we actually decided not to do that. Where what we were looking into was, you know, you just take a picture of the image and it takes you to a website. Not a QR code, nothing, because that means you'd have to, like, what am I going to do? Put a QR code on people's walls.
Right. So you were more thinking about, because I was thinking about the user experience. Like, you have to have a QR scanner, but you, as always, are more thinking about the artwork and saying, oh, I don't want to slap a QR code. Like,
well, it also made more sense, because if you're looking at the app, you know, or you're looking at the website, if you go to an artist, it's going to take you to exactly where the artist's piece is. All of them. Wherever you're at. It also, remember, it geotags you, so it shows you where you are on the map, and it shows you where you are in comparison to, you know, where that mural is or whatever. So as far, it was as easy as you. I'm an idiot when it comes to all these, whatever, just computers and stuff. It doesn't matter. And I like iPhones. You know, iPhones make it as simple as possible for people like me.
Right.
So that's how I saw it with the map. It was like, let's just make it as simple as possible. You just, if you go by artist, go straight to the piece.
I have to do this sideline, because it just hit me how much iPhones are like the new religion, because everyone gives me that bullshit. So I use a BlackBerry. True. I use a BlackBerry. Most people that know me know this. I'm like, BlackBerry are still around. Whatever. I always hear the same shit. And I have my own issues with Apple, why I don't use Apple, whatever. I like the physical keyboard, so I have the BlackBerry, but I always get that same thing. Oh, it's the easiest to use, it's super simple, whatever, until there's a problem. And then what do? You got to take it to the Genius Bar, or to your friend that knows how to do shit, or whatever it is, right? Like,
yeah, but
once there's a problem,
what's the other option? Is if you get something else and you have a problem and you gotta go the same route for them. What's the difference?
Well, yes.
I just know Apple, and it's easy.
It hit me what a comparison it is to the church. It's like, yeah, you could read the Bible, but if you want to make sure you're going to get into heaven, like, make sure you go talk to the priest.
Yeah, well,
and give your 10% or whatever.
I think they have enough commercial time.
Right.
So
okay, sorry. So technology, iPhone.
That's how I looked at it. I wanted to make it as easy as possible. So if you were looking up a particular artist, it takes you straight to all their murals and as of from the space of where you're at, whatever the distance of where you're at standing. If you wanted to go by from where you're standing and you see on the map that there's a bubble there, and you look it up and you see who it is, how many pieces are there. So it was, I thought it was as easy as you can get. That's how we did it. You were able to, link back to each artist's website. It tells you where they're from. You were able to see, if you go to a picture in this particular, let's say, Anthony Lister piece, and you click on there, you were able to scroll down and see if there was a piece on that wall before, and who exactly. So you see a history of what's there and what's live, what's not. You were able to see if there's a piece that's actually still existing, so you could look for it or not.
Right.
It was pretty cool.
I think honestly, I have to give you all and the rest of the. Huh?
Let's drink.
We're enjoying the appropriately named Showtime. Yeah, beer problems over there. So yeah, I have to tell you, but so that was different than Patrick and Principal.
Yeah, no, that was me and one of my best friends. We just sat down one day and he said, "Look, if you give me the idea, I can build it."
Right.
And he did.
And so I have to give you guys props, because I remember even at the time being like, this is A, very important, and B, awesome that you guys are doing this, because no one is doing this, and it's like it needs to be done. I think today, obviously, all right, we're 8 years later, at least 9 years later. There's a lot of options in terms of those kinds of things of like mural and that. I don't think there's one go-to one, which I think there is gonna be at some point, like where it's like, oh, you're going to your next favorite touristy, so you're going to Asheville, you're going to Denver, or like whatever. Oh, make sure you have the Yelp or whatever of mural searching. Especially given that I just came from getting the cans at Wakefield and overheard this like group where it was like some kind of scavenger hunt, like whatever tour, like the tour group thing, like that and it's like you hear the guy talking, oh yeah, but I saw so many atomics, and like, oh, but I never knew that they did the grenade thing or whatever. And I'm like it made me think of like we're not far off from the point when like they start doing like trading cards of like street artists, and it's like the commodification of this thing that like used to feel so.
All right, but let me ask you this: yes. Do you feel the same way if you visit like a museum somewhere or something that's been around for 200-300 years?
The same way meaning, do I feel
like if I go to a city where there's a structure that's been there for 300 years and oh my God, you gotta go see it. It's incredible and it's beautiful.
Am I like, pictures. Oh, is it? Oh, that's mainstream.
Do you see the same thing? Because we promote these artists' work as if it's something that should last there forever, right? So that's it's just we are in 2019, bro. Things happen quicker,
Yeah,
I think people wanna. Who cares? All they're doing is what we taught them.
The old man in me cares.
All they're doing.
Fuck you, kids! You didn't have to fucking walk 10 miles.
They are doing what we taught them to do.
Right.
That's it. We did all of that. We posted about it. We talked about it. We wrote articles about it. We had parties there, and we made that happen. Sure. So we can't. They just made it harder on us, man. Yeah.
But again, that's also what creates the opportunities and what brings the money to the industry and what allows the artists that we've known or followed or supported for all these years to be able to now live off of their craft. Because
it allows for the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, nothing guarantees
the companies success, need to do the right thing more often for that to
now there's
be
the
case.
Mercedes thing.
Even locals,
Right. No.
So
it started with Winwood Maps. So how did you? I just want to rewind a little bit because I found out after the fact, and we've since learned like we have some mutual friends through like the beer scene that I've gotten to know and been friends with, and then I didn't find out until like a year or two later, like you guys are like best friends or whatever. But how did you go from like, what was your path to get to the point of Winwood Map? Like in other words, how did you get that involved with the art scene down here to where you're like, oh, I want to create a resource to document
because it didn't exist, and because I
you were friends with the artists, or
no, not with with some.
Right.
That's it. Like a couple people that I knew growing up that No, not at all. I met most of these people the last 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and because it didn't exist, and I wanted it, and I wanted it. I just felt it would be cooler to just make it. All you had to do was go take a picture and put
Miami, where I'm like, oh, I couldn't find the thing I was looking for, so I'm like, how do I just do this so I could get to do the thing I want to do?
I wanted to do the site. I spoke to my friend, the guy, one of my best friends, this is his computer genius, and he didn't know how to build the site back then, so I didn't do anything with it. All I just did was kept taking pictures because I liked doing it. I liked meeting these people. I liked seeing, what they did and when they did it and how they did it, and there's just a lot of them are just great people, and I just love doing it. That's it. It was just incredible that we're living in the area, one of the top areas in the world for, street art and murals and whatever, all that shit.
No, and I think there's no.
And we're here,
right?
Why do you do it? You do it for the same reason.
Thing, I started working in the warehouse on 29th and 5th, let's say full time in 2009, but 3 days a week starting in 2005, and primary and all that shit came around, and it's like, oh wow, this is cool. And then I started having artists knocking on the door, like, can I paint in your driveway? And I'm like,
primary was, they were so fucking vital to the creation of what it's become with, good intentions, I think, and it turned into what it is because it's inevitable, but it still gives us an opportunity to.
Winwood or primary turned into what it is?
No, Winwood. I fucking love what primary does. I love those guys. They are hugely supportive of, they use a lot of local artists. They work with a lot of local people, and what they do is, I have never a bad word to say about them, and I don't know, man. I think
no, and that's the thing is, I feel like in every major publication or whatever conversation that happens around the case study of Winwood, and that's what I was going to say is Winwood, there's no denying that, yes, is it the only place that has this emphasis on street art, murals, whatever, especially in 2019? Absolutely not. Was it the first one? Probably not. Is it the biggest one? I don't know if I can say at this point.
Yeah.
But it definitely was, if not it was definitely one of the few cities, neighborhoods that really became, I think, a case study that a lot of other cities started looking at, and it kind of, I think, opened the door to looking at it from a development standpoint of there's money to be made here. There is something this is something that we can use to our advantage, in the sense of, from the developer standpoint of saying, oh, here's the formula. You find a neighborhood that's run down, warehouses, this, that, whatever, and attract all these artists by offering them low rent or no rent. And
if we had the money to do it ourselves, we'd do it, and we'd hope that we do it the right way, right?
Of course.
So until we do, we have to work with it's an opportunity is an opportunity.
Yes,
and people are always going to take it.
Here's my point: is that the developers kind of get all the credit at this point. When you see all these articles, New York Times and Forbes and this and whatever, the focus is on Tony Goldman, is on the Metro Ones, is on all of this shit. Because they have the PR firms that are the ones getting those articles out there, so obviously they're controlling the narrative. But at the end of the day, that's my issue with this whole development and whatever, all that stuff, is the emphasis has become, oh, the developers are improving blighted or impoverished neighborhoods and bringing in all this positive, or all this this growth and opportunities and jobs and whatever. And it's like, fuck you, motherfuckers. You invested at a good time, got a good property where you could still take the hit or break even and charge low enough rent to attract the business owners who wanted to start a brewery or a restaurant, the chefs, the artists, the whatever, who wanted to open a gallery or this cool innovative concept, who could get rent from you a space cheap enough that they could afford to fuck around and experiment, which is what creates the yes and no, to varying degrees, the amazing results, whether it be with the breweries or with the artists or whatever it is. And that's what cultivates the neighborhood. It's not the developers. All they're doing is they're the landlord who are recognizing, oh, I consciously need to give affordable rent, and some, not all of them, do that for a year or for 2 years or for 5 years, and bide my time until I could kick the rent up by, 20, 50%, 60, 200%, whatever it is, until the retail chains come knocking at the door, or the more established companies. I would argue that you can have the exact same effect in a neighborhood if you kept the property owners that were there before the developers come in, and you just bring in those same tenants. You have someone that acts as an agent to just say, hey, brewery owners, restaurant, like chefs, startups, this, whatever, I got the perfect place for you, cheap rent, whatever, and let the Puerto Ricans and the people that were here before that own these buildings and that were running their businesses out of it, let them say, oh, okay, I'm gonna cover my expenses on this property for a year or two, and then I'm gonna get 100 or 200 times, what I was, because the neighborhood is gonna become popular all of a sudden.
Okay, so let me ask you this: apart from making them not be that way, what can we do about that?
Making what not be that way?
The developer that comes in and doesn't do all these things that he should do, right?
I'm not even saying doing the things that he should do, because at the end of the day, he's a businessman. I'm a businessman in certain regards of like what I do. You know what I mean? I look at things from a business standpoint.
I think it's up to people like us. This is where I think we need to be held responsible for this.
Okay.
It's up to people like us that love to be in this community, that love to want to make it happen, to convince men and women like that as to why they need to have this, right?
Right.
Like, they're not gonna just, how many people do you know in your life don't give a shit about artwork?
A lot.
Too many. Who's to say these people do? If they did, they would already be in that world, right?
Right.
So, I think it's up to people like us. Now, I'm not saying don't hold anybody accountable to how they're, if they're being assholes, right, or they act a certain way and yes.
Right.
But I also think it shouldn't be so easy. It's a great thing to accomplish, right?
No, and
I think it's
100%. I think we have to own. We meaning the citizenry or whatever.
Or whoever, like the people that want to insist on being there and create stuff like this. I think it's up to us, bro. I think we have to. There are a few developers that we've worked with that. I say we because I know you have as well, where that have been great, and they still
call people out after months after taking a check from them and said, I took a check from them. That doesn't mean that they get a blank slate and get to do whatever they want now, because
yeah. So I just think as long as just people keep trying and don't just say that you like to do it, don't just say that you want to do it, you actually do something about it.
Right.
Then shut the fuck up.
Right.
No,
and I get it. My issue comes, and this is related to the Magic City stuff and all that I'm dealing with in Little Haiti, where it's like, the problem is that the developers get an unfair advantage, to my view, in terms of the opportunities that they have to create these scenarios in these neighborhoods is far and above beyond what me or you, if we had the money, maybe not as much money as them, but enough to get a property, 2 properties that we could say, oh, we have these ideas, we want to do things. And I'm in that position. I'm running Yo Space out of a warehouse that's been in my family since the 90s. I took it over to help my mom and get rid of a tenant that was horrible, taking advantage of the fact that she was a widow and whatever.
Yeah.
And it happened that the neighborhood is going through what it's going through now. 8 or 9 years later, it's not something where I was like, oh yeah, rubbing my hands, Mr. Burns, let me get in now while the getting's good. It was I was I knew a lot of artists who needed studio spaces. All right, I could fill that void. But the problem is when you have the developers, and especially, and I think it's in the last 10 years, not more, that this idea or this phenomena of the SAP, a special area plan, came about. It's not everywhere in the country, and hasn't been here forever in Miami. It's a relatively new idea. Midtown being one of the first ones that came about with that, and then Brickell City Center, the one in downtown. The idea that basically a developer who has 9 acres or more of contiguous property can basically lump everything together and apply for, it's basically their own zoning within a zoning, within an established zone, which means they can come in and be like, oh, my 9, 10, 13, whatever acres in, we'll use a concrete example, in Little Haiti, So we're going to be, even though the restrictions for everyone else around me is they can build up to 2 or 3 stories, I'm making up random numbers, we're going to, on our 9 or 13 acres, going to be able to build 20 plus stories. We're going to get 10 liquor licenses, full liquor licenses by right. Meanwhile, Joe Schmo next door to them, like literally one door over, has to, you know, go through 2 public hearings, has to do like this and that. That makes it a process that takes maybe 2 years. So it's a little bit, my issue is that the developers get the unfair advantage because, yes, of the money that they bring to the table, and because of obviously the fact that they've been doing it long enough and going to the city long enough to know
stop
the right
with
people.
money.
Also,
They can be doing it for as long as they want to.
no, and
they
it's
didn't
also
make
because you
money
have
doing
enough
it.
to pay the land use attorneys that
So-
have all the connections at the city and whatever. And I've seen it. I've been at the city waiting for 2 or 3 hours and see a land use attorney come in and go see the person that I'm waiting to see in 5 minutes, you know, and it's like you see exactly how it works. So that's more the issue I have with it. It's not with developers, it's not with people with money, it's the fact that it should be a level playing field, and it should be recognized and clear who is contributing what to the equation, because the developers are giving the space. If the breweries, the restaurants, the galleries, the retail concepts didn't come in and attract the people that they're trying to attract, that then increases the value, their investment would be worth shit. So we went off on a big tangent, but the point being, it's a mixed bag when we talk about responsibility in terms of transforming these neighborhoods and who has the responsibility and what can we do as people that aren't, you know, holding multiple millions of dollars and can't say we're going to buy up a square block. Yes, one thing that we could do is say, well, we're going to try and get whatever scraps we can off of those higher tables and say, hey, you should be incorporating art because it's going to benefit you, it's going to increase the values, it's going to bring attention to your property, like all of us for the most part are doing at this point. And there's what other people are doing, myself and Primary at this point included, is like carving out your own little piece and being like, okay, I can afford this much, so I'm going to buy this, and now I'm going to at least be able to do what I want with that. And
Yeah.
I, you know,
No, I think that's I think that's a big part of it. I also think, I mean, that's why we do Raw, man. Raw, our purpose for Raw is, can you imagine if you fix those schools that already exist, if you help fix, you know, we can presume that this is going to fix everything, but it's helped with the statistics that we have. Most of
have that later, we're going to get into this.
every, oh, okay. Go ahead, Shio.
No, but talk
Stop.
about how you improve. No, just talking more in general.
I just think that no, fuck that. No,
All right, do it.
go.
All right,
You
all
do
right.
your thing. Go. Go.
No, all right, so basically, we'll get off the developer thing. The idea being, there is a responsibility of the individual in that
I
equation.
just
and
can't
there's
talk
a
too much
developer.
to that because I haven't been following. I mean, look, man. I know what battles I have to fight
Right,
with like the places like that I want to have, you know, maybe someone paint something on those walls and, you know, everywhere, you know, not just in Miami or Wynwood,
Right.
but just everywhere, right? So I mean, I understand that. I don't know too much about what's going on in the developing world right now. It's as we'll get into later.
Well, so we'll jump back and then we'll fast forward. So
Yeah.
let's talk about how you then went from Wynwood Map to Raw Project, because then that's what I want to spend the most time on.
Well, Patrick and myself, I honestly, I mean, maybe if I sit here, I'll remember, but right now, I don't remember how we came up with it, and
But the idea being, you were already doing Wynwood Map for a little bit. You were curating.
oh no, now I remember. Sorry. So Patrick calls me and says, "Hey, I have a principal in Wynwood that wants to talk about the possibility of doing a wall."
Because at that
You
point,
know.
you were doing murals like for just, you know.
Yeah,
if there was
just, you know, we can
individuals
get
or
walls for
businesses.
friends of ours. Like we have connection with friends, and we try to help them out, right?
Right.
So I said, yeah, sure, let's go. I'll go over there. We'll meet them together, and we went. And when we sat down with Dr. Williams, and you know, she's asking me questions about who is it you work with, and you know, show us some stuff, and you know, throwing her whatever it is I use to, you know, tell her what we can do. And then she shows us a school. So shows us that
This was Jose Diego.
Jose de Diego, she shows us that the school's built for 1,500. There's just over 500 kids there. You know, they didn't have. They had a room full of music instruments, dust on it, no teacher. You know, they had art, two huge, massive classrooms with the closets full of materials, no teacher. You know, all these depressing things when you have the ability to educate these kids with all of that, but you just don't because of what reason? Why?
Funding. I mean, because it's public school, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like funding, basically.
Yeah. So, we, you know, by the time she finished that tour, we went back to her office and we pitched her. I said, look, what do you think if we come and I, you know, bring all these artists from all over the place? And that time we were thinking of just 40 as the max.
Right. Which already is a lot. You're like only 40. Like that's already
40, right? At one time. And then it turned into, that year, 76.
Wow.
It climbed up to 76.
Well,
it's at 86 now.
Here and there, right?
It's at, yeah. Well, yeah.
And it's a big camp.
Oh, school's massive. So, nothing. She said yeah, and we went and we did it.
And so, what was that process like in terms of, because it's a public school, both in terms of, and I don't have to go into like every like nitty gritty detail, but like in terms of like funding, is that something where it's like, oh, it's a public school, so
no, we
whatever.
Me and Patrick, well, and we started asking people around. You know, we went almost door to door in Wynwood, and you know, almost. I want to use the phrase guilt trip them into like, hey man, you know,
hey man, there's
the kids that actually live here. You know, you've been doing pretty well in Wynwood. Come on, and I gotta tell you, to their credit, I didn't have to do that. Right. You know, like they were all the ones that helped us out it was like off the bat.
No, and I've noticed like developers a lot of times when you say it's for the kids.
It wasn't developers.
Oh, this was like
one developer actually. One did. He did. But we weren't asking for much at all. Like this was like, you know, they probably could have taken out a petty cash and given it to us, you know. And then also Patrick, as well, and we got help.
You're like, how much can I say about this?
Well, no. I just don't want to.
Right.
You know, he's no longer with those, and that business doesn't even exist anymore. So I don't even want to talk about that. But we were able to. Local entities helped us out for that one. And it just, you know, we were able to get what we needed and do the project. You know?
So do you remember, like, what were some of the first, like, literally, like, the first wall, or were, like, some of the first artists?
The very first wall was Aohol Smith's Glue. He came in. I mean, what I wanted to do is I wanted locals who were here already to start in November.
Right.
Because we know it's Thanksgiving the day before, of, or after. Right. Those 3 days that they all arrive, right? All the international artists are going to be in Wynwood for the long haul during Basel. And
what year was this again? It was like 3 years ago?
This is 2014.
Oh wow.
Yeah. We started that conversation in March.
Right.
And then planned it from March till and yeah.
So Aohol
Aohol did the wall. No, but the very first one was Aohol, and he came in, he did the inside structure that's inside the courtyard of the little place where they sell, you know, their school materials and stuff. He did that wall. So it was just that. Everything else is still just white. And
I gotta ask you, with him being the first artist, if this, because I did a project with him in like 2011 that like we both fucking have like bad associations with, like not with each other but with other people that were involved in the project. Was there any issue or concern with the school about bringing in an artist named Aohol Snips Glue? Like, was that a conversation
I don't
you had to have?
I don't remember. I don't want to make anything up, so I really don't remember. But I do remember thinking about it, and we promoted it. I used his real name because David. Right. His name is known. It's not, you know.
Well, now. I guess 2014.
No, but at that time either. Like we, at least with the school and everything, like whenever anything that was involving kids, so people are gonna know it's him regardless, right? So that's his name, dude. Right. I mean, there is not a single bad word there.
Right.
So it is, you know, that's his name.
You could say like there's no bad word in like
it's his name, dude.
Smoke cocaine, you know, smoke crack, but like
it's his name. Dude. I don't know. People can do what they want in their life. This is America,
exactly.
Right? So
mine had to do with his stickers that said Aohol Snips Glue,
dude.
Where it was like, oh, is the school going to be concerned? Like,
this is why I love, you know, seeing these things happen live, right? Like there was an idea for that structure. He was gonna paint all of it, He was gonna do it from head to toe. I mean, it's like maybe 9, 10 feet tall, and it's, you know, a huge. Let's say, yeah, it's a big oval shaped building. You know, bathroom on this side for the little girls, bathroom on the side for the little boys, and then in the middle was the store.
Mm.
So, he's gonna do all of it all around, but because the paint that we had wasn't the paint that we wanted, and because just time and whatever, he just did half, but it looked like if you turned it around, like if it was a bucket and you poured honey and it spilled over and then you turned it around and it just stopped where it was at.
Right,
That's kind of what it looked
yeah,
like, and
yeah.
it looked so freaking cool.
Right.
You know, just I like those little mistakes.
It's like Bob Ross.
Things you don't catch. You know,
Happy accidents.
happy accidents. yeah, it was really cool. So that was the first one, and he you know him, like he is one of the nicest people you can meet, and his interactions with these kids was incredible. I mean, these kids loved him, and they would try him.
Yeah.
They would try him. Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, try him in the sense that some kid walks up to him and is like, you know, I can do that better than you, right? And his immediate answer, like, it didn't even. It's almost like if they planned this. No, he goes, I know you can. I'm just happy it's you.
Right.
Like, kind of telling him, you know, I already knew that about you, and whatever he said. And I remember the kid walking around like,
right,
like thinking,
yeah.
you know, like, all right,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, then maybe that kid, you know. Like,
Yeah. So, what are we drinking?
Like, what do you want?
No. What are we drinking? Like, what is it that we're drinking right now?
The Showtime Session IPA from Wakefield.
Yeah.
Brewed by the ladies of Wakefield for International Women's Day, using a blend of 5 different hops handpicked by the Pink Boot Society.
That's awesome, man. No, this is they can brew beer, bro. They do a good job with a lot of beers, and I know all 3 of these girls. They're great people. Yeah. So cool beer. We gotta open.
Yeah, we're gonna open the 3.
I'm letting it warm up so we can have this delicious.
Which I still have the conversation.
Lumberjack Morning Break, a bourbon barrel aged imperial maple coffee
3
stout.
Sons. I want
by 3 Sons Brewing.
I want a bottle from you guys, all right?
We're drinking one right now. We're drinking one right now. Thank you,
the brewer,
Corey. I appreciate it.
Corey, the brewer, the redhead.
Absolutely, the redhead.
Yeah,
exactly.
I met him.
The redhead. Corey the redhead.
I'm like the redhead.
That's
There's
a
him
new
and
one.
Angry Chair.
Oh man, I hope everyone
brewers.
starts using Corey the redhead.
And I think he has a shaved head, right? So he's not even really.
Yeah.
Right.
He looks like, you know, he's a good Viking extra.
Right. There's
You know?
him and there's, I forget it. Ryan he's also redhead at Angry Chair, but he's not the brewer. There's
no, I mean, he is the brewer. He's the head brewer. He's
No, you're saying at 3 Sons.
Yeah, but I thought Ryan was the head brewer. Isn't it his? Well, look,
At
that's
Angry
who I
Chair.
think of when I think of Angry Chair owners. I guess
Yeah,
that's
so
the
maybe
most
his name
important
is
part.
Ryan.
I don't care who
There's a
makes
guy
it.
in the tap room that's a redhead. That's like, and he's like kind of a dick, but like.
Who at Angry Chair?
Yeah.
No, Ryan's a redhead.
No, but it's not. I know, but there's 2. That's what I'm saying.
I
There's
don't
the
know.
brewer,
I don't know.
and
I don't know.
Ryan,
I've only gone to Angry Chair a few times. Whenever I go to Tampa.
No, we're just
Yeah.
exchanging.
So there you go.
Beer stories.
All right. So
okay,
where are we going?
Jose Del Diego.
Yeah. Jose de Diego, middle school.
So that was basically the first kind of, I think, right?
That was
kind
the
of
first
biggest
school.
scale, and the kind of this new foray for you into this like experience of like, oh, school.
It was definitely
murals.
the biggest project we'd ever done. Like I had never done anything that big where it was. I mean, the most I think at that point, as far as walls, was maybe 9 or 10 at one time.
Right.
This was ridiculous. But I mean, at the same time, you're talking about a lot of it is ground level. A lot of it you could do with a small ladder.
Right.
It was
No,
great.
Smaller pieces.
Yeah, and some walls were massive, of
Right.
course. But you know, it became a no-brainer.
Mhm.
You know, I can't say we knew what we were doing
Right.
because we didn't.
Like the pieces kind of fell into place as you.
Once you see, like in hindsight, this happened in hindsight. Oh my God, shit! Look what this is doing.
Right.
You know, look what this is happening to these kids. Like, look at their reactions. Look at what they're.
Let's talk about what happened to the kids. So after you guys finished the project, what effect did it have in school?
What I saw was, let me ask you this: how do you feel when you buy a new pair of shoes or a nice new outfit? I'm saying when you have something new, when you have something new that,
no, of course you
feel good about it.
Pride.
So imagine if you're told as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, as an 11 through 14-year-old, that's the average, right, for 6 through 8, Some were 15 because they were held back and whatever at that time. Imagine being told these are some of the best artists in the world. They're coming to paint all these things on your walls. They're going to use spray cans. I mean, just imagine being that kid, being told that. And you're going to have in your school now what you see walking home every day, but you feel no attachment to it whatsoever.
Right. And that was the
just think about what you would, So obviously the little kids that have issues worse than others, and they're just angry and that need help and whatever, that they don't care. But when I saw it, dude. Like I saw kids that were bullies. That by the end of that, they were completely turned around in the sense that they were like, they couldn't mess with the kids that they tried to bully that were so into the artwork.
Right. Like they would actually just
that they had nothing else to do.
Oh yeah, that is dope. All right. We can.
It's like when you troll someone.
Right.
If they don't respond to you, you lost the troll. Right.
Right.
That's what it was. It's like that's what a bully is. A bully is someone who bullies you, unless it's something physical, and that's something else. But if it's like verbal and it's like, to try to, if you don't pay attention to that,
right,
it's done. Like they lost.
Right.
So when I saw stuff like that happen, and how do you stop doing a project after you see stuff like that, right? Like you see these kids sitting down in front of murals instead of talking or whatever. They're actually sitting in front and sketching. Right. They're talking to the artist. I don't know, man. It doesn't change everyone, I mean, I'm not a fan of everything, and if the best thing of that thing I don't like shows up, I might not give a shit. Right. But there's a lot of kids that love art. There's a lot of kids that see that as a cool thing, and when they see their friends at that age, they follow it. Right. So once you see that,
and I think that,
and then you talk to Dr. Williams, and she tells you the amount of kids they're recruiting. Statistics. The amount of bad behavior, the amount of times they have to call the cops to come to the school to take care of an issue, to take a kid away. Cops taking a kid away because of violence, I mean, not taking away to a hole. They take them home or whatever, but it's, they got to remove them from the school. Like these are things that are happening in these schools. And when we saw that this had an effect against that, how do you stop that? And we saw that, and she's telling us this, and I give her all the credit because she has all the credit because we were just one piece of what she's done to that school. Right. She had just started there that year. She started mid-year. She didn't even start at the beginning of that school year. Right. So that woman went and started changing things in that school and the culture of that school. We were just a part of that. Once we saw what we helped create, I think, in the atmosphere of that school. How do you stop that?
But so talk on, because you've told me the numbers before. I never remember them like offhand. But
well, I don't really know the exact numbers right now.
So ballpark, because you've talked about in terms of like retention, in terms of like how many new students apply every year, the like violent incidents, and like all that stuff.
Put it this way. When they were at,
I told you to write that.
No, forget it. When they were at 1,500, let's say a school built for 1,500, they had just over 500, and they would lose kids. I don't know how often, let's say. But they would lose kids to charter schools or to other schools. The kids would move or whatever because who wants to go to a school that's not going to teach a kid anything? Right. It's not because the teachers don't want to. It's not because the principal doesn't want to. It's because they're not given the resources needed to do that job that's necessary, right? So when you go from that to the year after we did the project, the numbers started going up. They're at full capacity right now, bro.
Right. So
not the 1,500 because the Teach for America was put on the third floor of that school the year after. Well, Teach for America is a program that creates new teachers, young teachers.
Okay. It's like a training thing.
Yeah. And third floor, they own a whole section, like where the Santiago piece and the Derek Hunter piece are inside. Yeah. Like that whole floor, but the third floor.
Right. And then there's the church also.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I know that's.
Who cares?
Yeah.
We.
No, yeah, I know that's.
Let's crack this beer, by the way.
So basically, the point being that there were basically immediate results in terms of positive impact in the school, based just off of we're gonna make this place look nicer.
Well, not just off of. We can't say that because it's because of what that woman did for that school. So that she She turned the project into find the right walls,
Right.
to find the right principal,
Gotcha.
find the right staff, find the right community. If you're someone who's involved with that school, I want to know who you are and if you're the right person that we want to work with, if you believe in our vision, because we're not going to impose what we do on anyone. We want to show them,
Right.
look what we can do, look what we can help happen.
Right.
That's
Is
what
this
we
something
want.
You want.
That's it, you know, like I want them to be able to see, dude, if a musician does it, that's fine. It doesn't have to be just art. It could be like, you know, if someone like, oh shit, I don't have a bottle opener. You have a bottle opener, sir? All right. Do you have a glass? Because I'd like for you to try this.
Oh, I'm good, thanks.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
Love you, John. Okay, so let's fast forward while you're pouring beers here. So basically, you do Jose Del Diego.
Jose de Diego. Jose de Diego. This is Lumberjack Morning Break.
Yeah.
Maple
Enough
coffee
with the
Imperial
plugging.
style.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
Enough with the
No,
plugging.
I'm letting you know.
No, I know what it is.
Okay.
I'm very appreciative.
Making sure.
We have 20 minutes. So.
Let me, really quick. No. This is important, and I want you to. This dude and one of my best friends, Christopher Marino,
Okay.
got together,
Corey.
and Corey, the owner of Three Sons, and his family.
Right.
You know, his dad, his brother, everyone that's
family.
involved with the brewery,
Yeah.
right? Well, this is a raw related thing.
Okay.
Every single Basel, you know, it's just me and my partner Andre that does this. You know this. You know, we have friends that do, but I mean, people have
Right.
jobs, they have lives. So any help we can get, it's unbelievably appreciative, right? This dude last year decided to throw a party, and was able to donate every single cent and every single dollar spent at that place to our project
That's amazing.
to help. Not only did it help finish paying what me and my partner were in the red for Denver, but started helping what we're planning now. You know, we're doing a school in Los Angeles this fall.
Oh wow.
We're looking at a school in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's just outside Tulsa, Oklahoma, on Route 66, which is really cool.
Fun.
Like Jose de Diego's on Northwest 5th, the
Right.
school's on Route 66.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like this super small town. And then Anita Hartner, I don't know if you've seen, has been recently painted
I
over.
didn't actually see it in person, but Kevin posted it.
Well, it's painted over now because we have been talking to them for a while to help clear coat and kind of they were looking at repainting the school. So what we were gonna do was just cover the pieces and have them repaint the school. But then they started finding parts of the school that were cracked and the structure was whatever the word is fucked up. Compromised. There we go. So and it was all over the place, dude. And then there was water inside some of the walls, and they're like, you know what, they'd have to repair this.
Right.
And instead of just repairing half a mural and some right down the middle, we're like,
Right.
fuck it, man, let's do it again.
Right.
In Wynwood, everyone's gonna wanna, you know, really showcase themselves and do something amazing. And I'm gonna give every artist that had their walls the opportunity to obviously redo their stuff because we're so unbelievably appreciative of what they've done for us that we want them to have the opportunity. This is about the school. The school needed to get it done.
Right.
That's
no, right. And
Right?
So I'm not
So-
questioning that, but because most of these artists end up
Cheers, bro.
donating. Cheers. Most of these artists end up donating their time, if not more. You know, like I'm sure some of them. Most of them end
Yep.
up bringing their own, like some of their own pain, whatever. In other words, this is not a lucrative opportunity for an artist. It's them saying, "I want to help out this school because it's a good project and it's a good cause."
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to stress that. In other words, it's not like, oh, these artists are like, oh, this is another paycheck, you know.
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, you know, we try to make it as clear as possible. Yeah, right. We try to make it as clear as possible that you're not getting paid. There's no financial incentive for this whatsoever right now. When we become a 501c3 and we get funding for it, I'd like to pay them for it.
Mm-hmm.
On top of obviously paying all their when we go out of town, out of Miami.
Right.
You know, when we go to another state, another country, hopefully eventually, we'll pay for all that.
Mm.
But right now, that's all we can cover when we go somewhere else. And they understand that what they're doing is for that school. They're doing it for those kids. They're doing it for that community. They're doing it because it's going to help who they're doing it for,
right,
in an unbelievably positive way. So if you're an artist, you want to paint something that's going to have an impact,
right.
right? How the fuck are you not going to want to do this
I was gonna
project?
say, if you're a good person / an artist, because not all
Well,
artists are
even
good
nobody.
people.
Well, because we work specifically with artists,
No,
right?
that's what I'm saying.
For this.
But I'm saying the artists you've worked with are the ones that I know. You know,
I think so
personally
too,
or not,
and
that
I-
you've worked with are ones that place value on what you're talking about.
Well, we vet them just as much as we vet everybody. Like,
Right.
we have to, dude. Like, we have to really figure out who they are. Because if they're not doing it for the right reason, then they don't do it.
Right.
Period. You're one person. At the end of the day, you could be great, you could be incredible, you could be amazing. But if you're not a good person, if you're not going to approach this in a way where your only priority is to make those kids in that community happy, then no problem. You don't do the project.
No, and I think that's amazing, and I think it goes like to another level in terms of also teaching the kids a lesson, because they are going to meet, and they are like, you know, the artists are there working for minimum, you know, however many hours, if not days. Like, they're going to interact with the kid. The artists are going to interact with the kids, and I think it is important for them to interact with artists who are positive role models, in the sense of saying, oh, I could be the biggest artist in the world, but like, I come here and I'm talking to like all these random, you know, like elementary or middle school kids, and I'm like actually taking an interest in what they're saying and responding and giving them advice and whatever it is. I think that's very important to what you're doing, and obviously I don't need to tell you that, like, you know it, but I think it's important to recognize that you're factoring that into what you're doing, and it's not just like, oh, I want to get the biggest name artists, you know, out there.
I think that there's too many biggest name artists out there, right? And a lot of them, there's just a lot. I mean, who are the biggest name artists, right? Like, we make them that, don't we?
Right.
I mean, their work speaks for themselves, obviously, but for a lot of them today, the biggest name artists are people that we make
could
them
talk about
out of hype and all that
you
stuff,
got
right?
Shepard Fairey, you know, on Anita Arner.
Well, I mean, look, man, I can tell you that our circumstances with Shepard Fairey and the reason him and his team approached our project and how they approached our project, I mean, the guys helped us a lot.
No, I mean,
you know me, dude. You know that if you there's nothing you can do to buy this, right? There's nothing you can do to buy it, because the second you do, it's going to compromise the project.
Of course.
That's it. There's no end of story.
I mean, I've seen, like, I forgot who was it, Bo Stanton's murals that they were gonna buff at like a school, because they started like reading into like, oh, it has this meaning, that meaning, whatever, and so they wanted to like buff over his wall, and like Shepard actually came out in like support of, but like, oh, if you buff his wall, then you're gonna buff mine. Like,
yeah, it's ridiculous, and I don't know, man. I'd like to think that we get the best out of these people, man. I mean, they I try to tell them, and if I miss this on some of them or whatever, I don't know, but I try to tell them, look, if you don't walk away thinking you did the best thing you can do, then don't bother doing this project. Like, it's that simple. Mm-hmm. We'll find something else somewhere else. You know, if you wanna do something in the middle of Wynwood just for the likes, I get it, no problem. Hey, man, you got a career, good, let's do it. We'll find something. But this is different. You can't care where you paint. You have to understand that no matter where you are painting in this school, every child is going to see it. Period. Everyone uses this classroom.
Right.
If not this year, next year, or the year before, whatever.
Right.
And that's it. So, and I'm happy to say that we've been very lucky with that, man. Like, they've been very good with us. They really have. And I think a lot of, if not all, the artists have done an amazing job at least respecting where they've painted. You know, in Colorado, it hasn't been simple, man. Those schools are brick. Some of them are vintage.
Yeah.
You know, these, like, it's Audrey is like, Audrey's my partner.
Right.
You know, shit, it took me 52 fucking minutes to say her name.
No, you mentioned her.
All right. Audrey is my partner now. We've been partners for over 3.5 years now, and you know, she's like a better version of me, I guess. You know, like she has
better
all.
navigates
Oh
the
no, she's just
administrative
better
stuff.
at everything. You know, she has amazing taste with art, and she's just an amazing heart. You know, and she gets all that shit done, man. You know, we get up. Sorry.
No, because you brought up Denver, and that's
Yeah,
something
Denver,
I wanted to talk about was
well,
from when you did the first year Jose de Diego.
Yeah.
To it was the next year that you did Anita, right? Or was it
2 years?
ago?
Well, actually
year
yes,
and a half.
because the next year, the rain year, the year that it rained
Right,
every
it was just
freaking
that,
moment
right,
of
right.
Basel. We had spoken to Dr. McCoy at that time, was the principal of Anita Hardner, and we had said, if you don't mind, we don't have the funding to do the school yet, but I can work on that. And this year, let me put one artist on this wall out here, and see what we can do. And he goes, man, since the moment you did Jose de Diego, I've been dying for you to come over here. That was an amazing reaction he had to us, right? So we went and we spoke to Snicks, and Snicks from London, Nick and Laura, they came and did that beautiful piece on that school. And so that was the start of the second round, really. But, you know, since the money really was, I mean, it was crazy the first time. This is now another one that we had to work on to get, right?
Right.
And then
That's
that's
it's
what
not
we did.
like you did the first one and then it was like, oh, there's like 5 millionaires lining up around the corner.
No,
to
no,
like,
no, actually, I think it's unbelievable how.
I mean, honestly,
how
I'm
horribly
surprised
funded we are, man.
given,
Like, we have some help,
Right.
but it's like the minimal. And like there are companies in Denver, man, that stepped it up. That makes me sad that the companies here don't help us.
Right.
We had food every day in Denver, every single 2 months. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner from either parents making it, and that was one thing we did get here. Parents helped us out here. It's not the parents, but we had restaurants delivering or letting us go and feed our artists and us and stuff like that because of what we were doing to that community, to the school.
Right.
We had local business. Man, we had a company give us every lift we needed and wanted at any time for as long as we wanted in California, in Colorado, and they're going to extend in California. Like, they want to help us no matter what. They just they understand what we're doing. And they want to help us. Here, it's so unbelievably disappointing that people don't step up like that. And if we had the money, we'd pay it.
Right.
That's not saying we wouldn't. We want to help, but like these are things like some people in certain areas.
It's not like make the compare, but like now with the whole Notre Dame. Let's go down like burning down and stuff, and it's like
What about it?
overnight they found what was it 700 million or right $700 million like overnight to like restore that shit. It's
I
like,
mean,
all right, where was that money fucking 3 days ago before the shit burned down? Like, there's a lot of good causes like the Raw Project that you could be throwing just $1 or $2 million.
I mean, Raw Project is just we're. Yeah, I don't even want to get into that, man. We don't have time to cover that.
You're busy,
you know.
shit that.
I Sun State took care of us, man, out there, and I wish more companies out here would see what we're trying to do. We're not, like we said earlier, we don't take any money from that at all. Like, none of us have ever gotten paid for anything. No one. It's not just the artists. We don't get paid for this. This is all right now on for 100% for
which isn't how it should be, but
it is what it is, right? But we have to
I
do
get
it
right.
still. Right?
Exactly.
We can't not do it.
Right.
So. Yeah.
So, I had one other thing about. So at this point, Jose de Diego, Anita Hardner. There was another school in South Florida, South Miami.
South Miami K through 8.
Is that the name of the school? Cause I
Yeah.
saw it. Okay.
South Miami K through 8.
No, because I reposted the feedback piece from there, and I was like, is that the name, or are you just describing it?
We also did Arlington Heights Elementary last year, where Paola and Kevin Lito went and painted their wall.
Yeah. Okay.
And we just didn't have the right. I don't know. It's I wanna do something right with that school, and I think I didn't have the right mentality at that time to really take care of them and at least bring what we can bring to them.
Right.
No, that's it.
And so you mentioned Denver. You're looking at Tulsa, LA.
Yeah. Well, no, not Denver. Denver, we're not going back right now.
No, not going. I'm saying, but you've done stuff there.
Yeah.
And then eventually.
Dude, I want to paint every school on earth, man.
No, I mean, I think
if we can get if we can figure out how to just, I want to paint 2 schools every 2 months. Mm. 2 schools in each city.
And what I could say from my perspective, as someone who's obviously keeps tabs on kind of this stuff that's going on. Listen, you want to talk about impact? I mean, I saw within the last 2 or 3 years, so a couple, 2 or 3 years after you did the first school, I've seen other people, artists or not, like other people, which I don't know, we can talk about that.
No, that's fine. Look, that was part of it. Like, I wanted that to happen.
In other words, you had that, like, kind of trickle-down effect of, like, people recognize the opportunity of, like, oh, look at these blank canvases, schools. And from both sides, people who are producing projects and people at the schools who are like, oh, it's acceptable to have murals in the school because it improves and it brings all this positive media attention and blah, blah, blah.
You have to, bro, as long as it's people who do it for the right reasons, man, you gotta, before you can make any sort of profit, whether it be for your fame or for your whatever, you have to make sure you 100% covered the school, the community, the kids, and the families. Like, you have to cover all of that first before it does anything for you at all. You're gonna get talked about. They're gonna put your fucking name in the article. They're gonna do all of that shit. Like, they've put my name and my partner's name and the shit on every fucking article. But if it doesn't, but that's stuff we can't control. What we can control is what we benefit from it, right?
It hasn't financially benefited you despite being in all this.
It has to. I haven't been able to give these schools millions of dollars, bro. Or at least I walk away, give them a $50,000 grant, check. If I can do that, that'd be amazing,
Right.
And until we can do that, we can't benefit unless they fully get every benefit that they can get for it, without making them into, that's it, too much.
Right. And I have to say, because that's one thing that I made a note about, but that I wanted to touch on is we're very parallel, I think, in terms of what we do and in terms of, like, curating murals, and like we have overlap in terms of the things that we do. But I've never for 1 second felt any iota of whatever you want to say, if it's like envy or like threatened by, like, or anything. Like, I've always seen projects that you've done, even with Union, where it's like, oh, it's people I know. It's not like, I've never been like, oh, like, I could have done something there. I've always been like, oh, fuck, like, thank God it was Robert, like, that you know what I mean? Like, and
I mean, I feel the same way about you, man. This is not for this reason, but you our goal is to take care of
we
them
have the same
first.
goal.
We have to take care of them first.
I think that's what it is
right?
We're working towards the same end, which is to say we want the community to benefit, we want the artists to benefit. If we benefit at the end, great, but, like, the idea at the end of the day is there are things that we want to see happen in the world, and if we can take some kind of any role in facilitating those things happening and coming to life, that's what it's about. It's saying
we're always the last ones that should be taken care of.
Yes, I know.
Right?
Things have changed for
so,
me.
It is what it is. It's true. Hey, man.
Job situations have changed.
Well,
but the podcast doesn't pay anything. So I pay. But yes. All right, Robert. We went in a lot of different directions. And
thanks, bro.
So where can people find you? Not you. Where can people find Raw Project?
Well, we're rebuilding the site right now. We're keeping live what's there now. It's www.therawproject.org. Raw as in RAW. It stands for Reimagining the Arts Worldwide. Used to stand for Reimagining the Arts in Wynwood, but we wanna expand. Yeah, so you could me or my partner will get the email.
And
reach out.
If you've been meaning to cut a check for a charitable cause and been looking for the right opportunity,
if you want to help, give us a call. We'll see what we can do.
Nah,
save Notre Dame, but just save the people first.
That's true.
Save the hungry person before you save a building.
Yeah.
All right, man.
As always, I have been Yuval here. This has been my little town, Robert de los Rios.
Rios, man.
Rios.
Jesus Christ.
Because I get confused on the
Hell's
De
Rios?
Los Las. I don't know, man. Thank you for coming. Episode
Later, man.
9, Jolt Radio. Yo-Miami.com. It's Yo Miami on Instagram. Yo Miami on Facebook. Catch us around town. Support your local people. John, Jolt Radio. Bye.